What's up, guys? Figured we'd start doing housekeeping right at the front of the show, so the people who don't quite make it to the end sometimes can hear these things, and for the people who already know, you can just skip through it till you hear the music, and the show will just continue on as usual. So with that said, here's housekeeping. You can follow us on Facebook, both JAMUP and Matt Archer Media, if you want everything Matt Archer Media, Ohio WrestleCast, Bunch of Podheads Podcast, JAMUP, and whatever future things we may do. Just everything all together. You can go ahead and follow us at facebook.com/MattArcherMedia. JAMUP is also on Facebook. If you purely just want to follow JAMUP and Jeffy, facebook.com/JAMUP Podcast is where you can find us there. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends. All audio versions of the podcast are available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcast providers. If we're not for some reason, shoot us a message. We'll do our best to get on there for you. Video versions of the podcast are available at youtube.com/MattArcherMedia. Come over, see our pretty faces. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the little bell icon next to the subscribe button. You'll get notified every time a new episode comes out. You can follow us on Instagram as well, at Matt Archer Media. Jeffy's on there. You can follow him at Jeff Hughes MMA. Damn. I'm also on there at Western Jesus on Instagram. That might be it, Stitch. What do you think? Here's the show. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Welcome to Jam Up number 26. I am Mark Thomas. This is MMA superstar Jeff Lights Out Hughes and special guest Matt Trukovich. I don't have a little name to insert in there for you.
The man.
Matt the Man Trukovich.
Just Matt.
And this is Jam Up number 26.
This is a big episode for me, especially. I've been wanting to do this a while with Matt, and I'm happy that we finally got it all squared away. I know it's a big day for Mark. It's 420.
Excellent.
Yeah, I actually haven't celebrated quite yet.
Okay.
I'll do it after the show.
All right.
He's keeping it professional.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, thanks for coming, Matt.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited about this.
Yeah. I obviously know you. Mark doesn't know you well, but you guys are getting to know each other now. He's very interested as well. We kind of want to go over the beginning of how you got involved with MMA in Ohio in general. What are your thoughts on all of that? And we're just gonna give the floor to you because
all right.
Just bring us from day one.
What brief history, huh?
Yeah, because I've said it, and I'm not blowing smoke up anybody's ass, but I think RFO is the best thing that's happened to this area for MMA ever. There's been a bunch of promotions, but nobody's done it quite like you and as well as you. So I'm as interested as anybody else to know.
Okay.
Like start us off.
My older brother, I've always been real competitive with my brother Chad. And he fought in tough man competitions, and I would go watch him and be like, "This ain't that hard." I'd watch him. He'd do well. So I didn't train or anything, and I just did. In 2000, I did a tough man competition, and I lost my first bout in that, and then I came back and did it again, and I actually saw that I was pretty decent. I did pretty decent at it. And then that's when MMA started. It's like 2003, 2004, MMA started picking up. And I was like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be doing. So I went and found the best wrestlers. They weren't friends of mine. These guys didn't like me. I didn't like them.
And this is before social media, so it's kind of a little harder to get a hold of people.
Well, I just ran them to them at the bar,
Oh, okay.
Mitch Weitzel and Josh Hendricks. Those are the two guys that I reached out to.
Josh Hendricks is a bad guy.
Yeah, they could wrestle, and I needed to learn to wrestle. So that's like 2004, 2005. And I didn't want to go to the UFC. That was never my goal. I wanted to compete, and then I wanted to be a manager. That's what I wanted to do. So I got decent at MMA. We opened the Rec Room Athletics, the gym, Mitch and I did. And then we would go to all these shows, and my wife would go with me. We'd sit there, and these shows would go on forever. There'd be an hour intermissions, they're trying to sell beer, and you'd get home like 3 a.m. So I just took mental notes on the things that I would improve if I ever did a show. Tony Prey was involved with that rec room, and he came up to us and was like, dude, we could do our own show, because we were going to shows. You know how it was in the beginning. It was like every other weekend.
Every other weekend, yeah.
So we can do our own shows. We got enough guys in the gym, and we figured out how to get a license, and that's what we started. We started as a rec room fight series.
I remember that.
It was me, Tony, and Mitch, and then Mitch wanted the gym. He wanted to make the gym bigger than we just wanted a fight club, pay the bills. That was it. He wanted to turn it into a legitimate gym. So
Money-making gym.
Yeah, he wanted to turn it into a business. So he gave us the fights, and then he took over the gym. And then Tony became a Columbus police officer, and then he gave the RFO to us.
Wow.
He said he couldn't do it anymore. We weren't making any money at that time at all. NAFS was still had cheese at that time.
I was still Fight Fest days as well.
Yeah.
Remember Fight Fest?
Yeah. Fight Fest was still there. I can't remember what year it was where we switched from Rec Room to Revelation Fight Organization, because I didn't want to be tied to a gym, especially now. The more that you do that, the more you see guys that are tied to a gym, you just question the matchups and all that.
The politics involved.
Yeah,
it goes on now. If I was fighting for a gym's organization, I would probably feel the same way.
Right.
I'd be like, oh, what are they trying to pull here?
Yeah, and I show people the fight cards. There was fights, and if I trained with you, you're probably going to have a tougher time fighting.
Yeah, which I appreciate that.
I put Cody in with guys that he had he should have been. He could hardly. He had a leg injury. He could hardly walk, and he fought Nate Jolly, Jolly had like 50 fights at the time. No business in there, but I know Cody's tough. I know him personally. All right, Cody, go fight this dude. And so these guys in Mansfield, they got tougher matchups because I knew him personally. It was never about getting an easy match, but I didn't. Even when the RFO got bigger, I quit training altogether.
Okay. Just
because of that. And one of the reasons I quit promoting is because no matter what you say or do, someone's always going to see the bad. Someone's always going to think there's politics going on.
Oh yeah, you're always no matter how many people. What I've noticed is no matter how many people think you're the best at this or you're great, you're very fair. There's always a couple guys that think that you're cheating them some way or you're screwing them another way.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm just going to go on record right now is I could never do it. I would end up going blow to blow with somebody.
Right.
If they came after me, attacking me and what, all the work that you and your family have done to put this, this fight card on, and they came back and tried to bash that, it used to piss me off just hearing about.
Yeah, you'd see it.
Yeah, I would see it firsthand. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? I mean, like.
But that's like, the more I understand just thought patterns and people's behavior, their minds are already made up. So, all right, if they say they lose a fight, and then they're like, man, I was set up to lose that fight. So they just feed that thought, and then they start making all these other accusations, and they'll even see something small, like if I smile after a fight. I love to see a good fight. I don't care who wins. Oh man, he was laughing after that fight. He was laughing after I got lost. So many tickets. That's why you wanted me to lose. It's like, so they just feed that thought pattern, and then it's hard to bust your ass, like Jeff said, and then you're still somebody's bad guy, even though you made all these sacrifices or gave them.
And you gave us a platform to do what we love. And I've never go into a fight thinking that there's no chance that I'm going to lose. So people that go into a fight thinking like, oh, I got set up to lose. Like this guy that you might be fighting a hometown hero, and they might hope that he wins, but it's your job to prove him wrong.
Right, exactly.
Like, nobody's in there. It's not like you were in there, tripping the guy before he got taken down or something. You know what I mean? Like, you had nothing to do with the outcome of that fight.
Yeah. And this is like specifically, you can look at who beat Cody in the RFO, and they're in the UFC.
Yeah.
There's not one guy that beat Cody in the RFO that didn't go to the big show.
That's crazy.
So they took advantage. Okay, we got to fight. We got to go to this dude's hometown
and beat him.
Yeah, we got to beat him. Why? Because we want to go to the next level.
Yep.
So if you're not willing to do that, I don't know. I don't have hard feelings towards MMA because I mean, I met so many good people. It taught me so many. I mean, I was just a regular guy, and I learned so much about business, self-belief. Like we came up from nothing, and then a bunch MMA scene. The whole scene in Ohio was a bunch of street guys that knew how to fight, and then we just turned it into like it's a whole subculture.
Yeah,
like, it's amazing.
It's to me, like, so I started this, I call it a journey because it feels like a lifetime. It's been over half my life almost.
Yeah, dude, high school
I started.
Lots of sacrifices.
Right, I quit. I didn't quit. I was done with wrestling. I started wrestling late. I was kind of a natural at it. I was just, you know what it is. Like, somebody's more experienced than you, they're probably going to beat you, even though I'm tougher or whatever. So I got into MMA, and I got my ass kicked for a good 2 years by the Tony Sylvester and Chuck Ellison, all these guys that were doing it, just tough guys. They were grown men, and but like they kind of invited me into that culture because they could see I had a little bit of potential, and then like you get all the at shows you see all these people with from their team like Strong Style and Evolve and Victory, all these guys. It was like you might have to fight somebody from that team, but like when it comes down to it, we were all one big family, and that's what I felt like RFO was kind of brought that atmosphere of family together. Yeah. And I thought you did that better than anybody because you were there for the fighters, and other organizations are not there for the fighters. We're just pawns to them. They're there for the money.
And in their defense, in those other promotions' defense, what we had going for us is it wasn't our gig. Like my wife and I, everyone involved, we had other jobs. These other organizations, like they're just matchmakers, or they're just fight promoters. So if we had a break-even night, my wife and I could consider that it's good.
That's a win. Yeah,
it's a win.
Yeah.
And if you leave with $3,000, that's hell yeah. But if you leave with we lost $4,000 in one of our fights, and it wasn't like, oh my God, the lights are going out because we have another job.
Right.
But what that created was people started to do desperate shit. They would like, all right, so this is our ticket seller. We got to push this guy or whatever. Or there was one of the worst things that I saw in a promotion was if you took tickets and didn't sell them, you still had to pay for all.
Yeah, yeah, that almost happened to me once. I was like, you're out of your mind.
And they had to do that to cover their ass. They have to make money. But if you have people bail on you and you got 3 tables worth of tickets, that's
that happened to me at one of your shows. Actually, I got 2 tables and a whole table bailed on me last minute, and I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. Here you go. I'm sure the table sold.
Yeah.
Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But if I would have left you with that bill, say you're making 1 and 1, and that table's $3,000, you lost $1,000 to go in there and put your ass on the line.
Right.
So that's.
I feel like you did it right, and I think a lot of people, the promotions now, I couldn't even name a local promotion right now, which is kind of bad. But they could take some notes from you guys. You guys did a really good job. What ultimately got you out of it, though? Just the politics and ball. I mean, you explained to us like you didn't want to be the bad guy, and you a couple people were shitting on you about it, but
yeah, that was part of it. We start Strong Style. Cody got with Strong Style. Strong Style is by far the biggest draw as a gym. Yeah. And I sat down with Strong Style, and they said, we want to just fight for you exclusively. We don't, that way, and it's not even a business thing. They just they didn't want to fuck with all these other promotions.
Right.
You're our guy, you put the fights on. I told Marcus, I don't want to do that because I saw what happened with NAFs. Mm-hmm. Everyone it's top dog, everyone starts hating on you. Not everyone, but a
majority
percentage,
yeah.
Ohio's an underdog state, so I was like, I want you guys to fight for other promotions as well. So that didn't happen. Well, it still happened anyway. It still went on. And then I lost my factory that I worked at for 17 years closed.
I remember that.
Yeah, so it closed down. All these things were happening. My daughter was a mature age, moving out. I lost my job that I thought I was going to retire from. And I was like, I need to reinvent myself. So I signed up to go to barber school. And I was like, you know what? There's no way that I can drive to Cleveland every day, go to barber school, and be a fight promoter. And I was spiritually exhausted from the runaround. And I was having trouble with my matchmaker, and there was constant conflict with promotions. I would try to call a promoter, hey, man, let's get together and set up our dates. They wouldn't return my calls.
Right.
Like, as soon as you're in the same business, something of the human behavior wants to say, all right, that's my enemy, because we do the same thing.
Right. Instead of working together, like,
It's
it's
famine mindset.
Hope you kill it in April. I'm going to kill it in May.
Yeah. Can we get a little help here? You know, on this guy. If they could all come together on some shit, MMA in Ohio would be great.
Yeah.
But they're all cutting each other's throats, and you see it on social media. They'll be backstabbing, making pokes, and it's like.
That's another thing that drives me crazy is I'm not mentioning any names, but this matchmaker is going after this matchmaker, and this matchmaker makes a post about this promoter, and then it just goes downhill.
Yeah.
And it's just terrible.
And the people that were working for me, I would call them like, do not worry about what other people are doing. Greg Kalikas told me that when I just started promoting, and we were talking about UMAX or something. And he's like, let those guys bury themselves. We'll focus on what we're doing. You know. And that's the best advice. I don't know if he took his own advice, but I took that, and I was like, you know what? That's a beautiful way to look at it.
Don't worry what other people are doing.
Exactly.
Yep.
We're going to do what we're going to do. Let them do whatever they're going to do. Have you ever seen the meme with Michael Phelps swimming? He's winning a race, and the guy's like looking at him to see how close he is to Michael Phelps?
No.
It says winners focus on winning and losers focus on what the winner's doing.
Yeah.
If that guy, because I watched that race in person, I wasn't there, but I watched it on TV. If that guy would have just raced his race and not watched Michael Phelps, he might have beat him.
Oh, Michael Phelps was behind him.
Yeah, well,
okay.
They were side by side.
Gotcha.
But the guy kept looking at Phelps like, dude, that's not
that's a good dude. That is
essentially the tortoise and the hare is what it is.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Stop worrying about. Yeah, that's a great saying. You know.
So I would call. I would talk to my people that work for me, and they would talk about these other promotions, and I was like, dude, let's not focus on any of that. No matter how often I said it, it always came back around. It was always like there was conflict, and they're trying to do us under, and I didn't want to focus on any of that shit.
Right.
It's hard enough to do it without all that. It's hard enough to put together a show and deal with the commission and deal with the fighters, let alone all the other people involved. You know.
That's that you kind of just asked my next question. Commission. I'll go out and say it. I've never got along with the commission. I don't agree with anything that they do. They don't know what the fighters do. They don't know what the promoters are doing. They think they're God.
Yeah.
And I remember as an amateur, I was going through a really tough patch in my life. My ex-wife at the time was pregnant. I threw on a bunch of weight. I wasn't training. And I was going into a fight, not training. Had no idea what I weighed. I weighed over. I've
This
never.
one you were at 205?
No, this is at heavyweight.
Okay.
I put on like 30 pounds in like 2 months, just drinking and eating and stuff. Had no idea what I was getting. Jump on the scale and they're like, "Oh, you're over." I'm like, "Oh shit."
Over what?
Yeah, I'm like, "What do you mean? Is that scale broke?"
You're right. I'm over this shit.
So. The way that the commission handled it, they were screaming at me like I just stole something. I was like, dude, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Like, I will smash your face on this table.
They were trying to punk you out.
Yeah, they were trying to like, you'll never fight again and all this stuff. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? And then my own coach at the time, I left the event, man. I was like heartbroken, right? I just let down everybody. My coach was talking shit about me, making fun of me. And that's when I lost faith in the commission, most of my coaching, all that. Like, I was just done with the sport. It took my jiu-jitsu coach to text me probably 3 weeks later, like, hey, man, not everybody's out to get you. Like, you can still make it in this sport. And at that time, I had no idea if I was going to make it or not.
Right.
But what is, like, your opinion on the commission? Do you think they overstep their boundaries too much, or do you think they're trying to do what's best for us, or you think they're in it for themselves? I'd like to know your opinion on that.
All of that.
All of it?
It's all of it. One of the problems with the commission is they're not MMA educated. That's one of the major problems. They're very limited staffed. Their staff is tiny. Their backs against the wall because like I was talking about the desperate shit with promotions. They know that everything's make or break. My biggest problem with the commission is the fight selection. And so I'm rolling with these guys. I'm training with these guys. I have an 0-0 guy that's tough. He gives me shit on the mat. That's how good he is.
Stud.
And 2-0 amateur versus an 0-0, and the commission tells me that the 0-0 can't fight the 2-0 because it's not competitive. And I'm like, this guy's gonna smash it. Like he might smash a 5-0. So that was very frustrating because I hands on when I was training with these guys. They was just by looking at the numbers, you can't. That's not a good matchup.
Yeah, they don't know these fighters.
Right, they don't know the fighters. They don't know this. They don't know the rules of the sport. Now that it's 2019, they do. I mean, I'm sure they're much more educated. In the beginning, this was a boxing commission that got involved in MMA.
I think they should have branched off and got guys like yourself to possibly run an MMA commission. They still, all over the country, they still have a boxing commission running the show.
Right, and I don't understand that. The sanctioning, there's so much about the commission that you could go into. And we tried to have meetings, like I would talk to the head of the commission and say, we should have a meeting where all the refs, all the promoters, whoever the fighters want to show up, get together. Well, who's going to pay for that? Who's going to house it? Who's going to feed the people at the party? Who's going to supply the beverages? Like, there was always a financial burden that someone was going to have to carry.
They make so much money, they could have done it.
Right. I mean, they could have. Or they could have, donations.
Right.
I know when there was, there's probably 30 gyms in Ohio at one time. All had stable of fighters. We would have $50, $100 a gym. We would have thrown in and made it better. Now the commission, and I'm so glad I don't have to deal with this. You have to have 9 wins as an amateur to go pro. All right, so if you went 9-0, you had to go 9. If you had 8-0, you couldn't go pro. You have to go 9-0.
Yeah.
Who the hell is going to fight an 8-0 or 7-0 amateur? No one's going to do that.
Nobody.
They're going to have so much. They're going to have so much struggle getting to the pros now than they did before.
And that's why I see a lot of guys going to PA for it. They'll be 5-0 or 6-1 or something, and they'll go to PA because they're just done with amateur MMA.
Yeah.
And it's like, at this point, I had 14 fights as an amateur. I'm happy I did, but my last 5 fights as an amateur, I was like, I'm ready to go pro. John would never turn me pro. It was always a big whatever. But it was harder for me to turn pro at like, I was supposed to go turn pro at 11-2 or 10-2, whatever it was. But Bernie wanted me to turn pro at 5-1. He wanted me to fight in some big tournament with this is when Andre Arlovsky and Tim Sylvia were kind of floating around.
Yeah.
He wanted me to be the 8th seed in that thing. I was like, are you fucking crazy? But now, as a 10-2 guy, he was like, he needs one more. He needs one more. I'm like, come on.
And the commission will tell you, if you wanted to go pro, they would say, you go to Michigan or Pennsylvania and you can fight pro and then come back. And then we'll have to accept you as a pro. If you know the guy's going to do that, just let the Ohio promoters give him a pro fight. Right. Why make him hit the road? If we're about Ohio MMA, it should be about Ohio MMA.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
In the commission's defense, when you're desperate for making money, if I have a 7-0 guy and his opponent backs out, I could probably pay a kid on the street $100 to go in there and get his ass kicked. Mm-hmm. That doesn't have any fights. That's why the commission has to be there. Because you could get somebody killed,
Oh, yeah.
And that would happen. Everyone wants to say, we could regulate ourselves. There's times when promoters get their backs against the wall and they're looking at a $4,000 loss. I had a kid, he sold 125 tickets at that Cleveland show. His opponent backed out. All that money went back to his fans. If the promoters got their back against the wall, here's this kid off the street wants to fight him. All right, sign him up.
Yeah.
Bam. Now instead of losing $4,000, we made $3,200.
Yeah, now we got bum fights back.
Yeah, bum fights, exactly.
I do agree that there should be a commission. I think my opinion, and I don't deal with them nearly as much as a promoter did, but they just overstepped their boundaries a little bit with you needed this. And I remember Izzy William, he's dude's from the jungle, you know, he was like 7-3 or 6-3 or something. And somebody wanted him to fight like an 8-0 guy, 8-1 guy. And they turned it down. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They turned that down. Like, who else are these guys going to fight besides each other?
Yeah.
You know? My second to last amateur fight, I was 10-2 or 9-2, something, whatever. And they had me fight a 3-0 guy because Nicole pulled some strings. I'm like, the guy didn't land a single punch on me. It was like, I felt bad after it because like I hit him with like 3 jabs and he like knew he was fucked.
Yeah.
He's like, oh my God, what did I sign up for?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude.
There's a boy in there.
Yeah, and then she goes, hey, let me know. I'll get you somebody else that you can beat up. I'm like, this is not, I want to go pro. Like, find me a guy that's a pro fighter.
Let's go, yeah.
I don't know.
And it should be, there shouldn't be set numbers. There shouldn't be you need 9 wins or 9 fights. It should be case by case.
Yeah.
You know, if you come out of college and you're a collegiate wrestler, why have to fight amateur?
Yeah. Or
who's going to fight you?
No, nobody
especially
wants
if you're a state champ or something. No one's going to fight you.
Or you look at a guy like Lexi out of Strong Style. I mean, that kid is going to be in the UFC. There's no doubt in my mind. I train with him every day. Who's going to fight him? Because I think he only had 4 or 5 amateur fights before they let him go pro. Like, who's going to fight that guy at 5-0? He's Stipe's training partner. He's a monster. He's 18 or 19 years old. Like, who is going to fight him? And they said, fine, you can turn him pro.
I think he I think he might have had a pro fight in Serbia.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's what
I didn't
happened.
know that.
Yeah.
That might have been what happened. But I don't know. There's so much politics that go into it. And I don't even know.
I don't know how you fix it. But I'm cutting hair now, so it ain't my problem.
Yeah.
But I did get to ring announce at BCM. That's the new promotion in Mansfield. That was a lot of fun.
That's Cody's kind of.
Cody and Bob Marshall are involved. Yeah, they're both Mansfield. Well, Bob's a state trooper in Mansfield, and Cody's from Mansfield.
I mean, you think of Mansfield MMA. There's 2 guys. Obviously, you and Cody's the other one.
Yeah.
Like you guys kind of are like peanut butter and jelly for Mansfield MMA.
He helped me build RFO. Right. What it was for sure.
And he would sell a shit ton of tickets, and he would always put on exciting fights. I thought, especially as an amateur, he had some of the most exciting amateur fights I've ever seen in my life.
I agree 100%.
So the more he progressed as a pro, the more he turned into that grinding, beat down style.
So, a little safer.
It was way safer, but we're not out here. Like, I have a decently exciting fighting style, but like if I was a grinding wrestler, I would pick that over kickboxing any day because I'm not going to have brain damage if I hold somebody down and beat the hell out of them when I'm done with this sport, you know?
Cody, he, like you said, his amateur fights were amazing, and you couldn't sit down when he was fighting.
It was the most technical bar fight looking thing ever.
Yeah,
it was great.
And he would always come out on top, and it was 100 miles an hour. But
nobody breaks him mentally. That's the thing.
He fought some kid. Corey, he fought him for UMax, I think it was. Roctagon. He fought this kid Corey for Roctagon. And both their heads were just big as watermelons after the fight. And Cody, legal up kick or something in the second round, so he got deducted a point, and the fight went to a draw. And I'm standing there looking at 2 kids that put their soul on the line, and both of them are just battered to shit for a draw.
Yeah.
It was. I think it might have been that fight where you saw Cody start to say, "All right, man, this is
enough.
Why?
Enough
Why
is enough."
Why am I doing this?
Because he would have like just all out brawls.
Yeah.
And blood flying, sweat. Oh, it was great. It was so fun to watch.
Jeremy Ashley versus Cody Stevens. You should watch that.
I'm gonna look at it. Because I'm completely unaware of him up until UFC for the whole hoopla.
But Cody, that Jeremy kid, that was at Gray's Armory.
Okay.
One of Cody's best fights. That Jeremy kid actually killed himself like 2 years after that fight. Oh, my God. So that's something that you're starting to see a lot more of with Matt Hughes, BJ Penn.
Are we thinking maybe that had something to do with it?
The head trauma,
to do something with it.
The CTE and the head trauma, these guys they're already fighters, so they're already like high high energy, you know, high maintenance as far as like being physically demanding. And then you throw head trauma in, and that relates to like anger issues and spontaneousness. Yeah, Matt Hughes, BJ Penn have both recently been through it. Max Holloway, I believe, too.
Yeah, then they thought he had a stroke and he would like never fight again. Like he was showing signs of a stroke. It's insane.
Yeah, it is insane. And a lot of those guys, when we first started, that's all we did was fight. Mm-hmm. That's how we trained.
Yeah, I remember sparring 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
And the 5th one was like learning how to do an arm bar. You know, that's what we did. We just fought.
If you were in camp, you had a headache constantly.
All the time.
That's not good. I'm so glad that gyms are getting away from that, but how much damage has been done? You know?
Right. Especially these guys have been in, like, just like today, for instance. You know, I know everybody, especially when you're in a big parking lot, you kind of forget where you park. But most of the time, you're like, oh, yeah, I parked over here. I was wandering around Walmart for about 15 minutes because I don't remember where I park, and like on a bad, like too much. You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck, I don't remember what door I walked in. I think it's starting to catch up to me a little bit. Is like the short-term memory loss. I've never had a problem with it until like recently. You know, I'm like, oh god, what's going on?
See, I'm having a very similar issue lately, but it's not from getting punched in the head. It's smoking a little too much.
Yeah,
happy 420.
Yeah, 420 every day.
I think. You know, people say that too. Ask me, like, what are you going to do after fighting? Or are you worried about CTE or whatever it is? And I'm like, you know, I am for the sake of my children and my family. But, like, I would not want to do anything else in life than what I'm doing right now.
Not only that, it's not like you're just starting your career.
Yeah.
You're pretty much invested at this point.
Yeah.
You know, why turn back now? And you're at the big show. You're at the pinnacle. I have some of the similar traits. I'm fine with my memory's fine, but if you ask me a simple thing, like if I have to pull up the memory right now, I have a hard time. So
Is that like short term, or is that like?
I just think it's an inability to recollect.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Like I went to high school. The girl that owns my barbershop, I went to high school with her. I only knew her by her maiden name, and then now I've worked with her for a couple months. I know her married name now. Somebody last night. I was out and they asked me what Amber's maiden name was, and I just couldn't recall. Yeah, that's how I knew her.
Years.
But now that I've learned her new name, I couldn't recollect.
That makes sense. Yeah.
When it was asked right away. If I'd have went to the bathroom, okay, now I know it. But
we've been going to schools together since first grade, and there's times where he'll mention somebody's name, and like, I used to know every single person in the school's name. It's not a big school. I think there was, you know, probably 700 kids. I knew a majority of the kids.
Yeah.
Underclassmen, upperclassmen. I don't remember anything. I've only been out for 10 years.
No, it's kind of like especially if they had like a nickname. Like I can't remember their actual name, but I can remember their nickname.
No.
Like it was probably like a year or so ago. Somebody was talking about some kid. And he kept calling him by his real name, and eventually he was just like, everybody called him Lurch. I was like, oh, Lurch. Of course. Yeah, Lurch, real tall, you know. But, yeah, it's weird how that shit works.
We had a lot of... Our school was crazy. Our school was... I was one of the bad kids. We had a whole episode about that. Like old school memories.
You were a bad kid?
Oh, I was
That's hard to believe.
I was terrible.
You're still picking me up on the mic?
Yeah,
okay.
For sure. It's just...
I was... so we had like a whole... episode, and all the stories ended up coming back to me, like me fucking up, me doing something stupid. So I was like, man.
Oh yeah, it's pretty much all Jeff stories.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
I don't see it.
Yeah, Well, I'm telling you, by the very second I saw my daughter being born, like something clicked, and I was like, all right, I'm a man now. I can't act like a fool.
Yeah, it would have had to have been something, I think, like that.
Yeah, because I was a wild man until I was 24, 25.
I can relate to that.
Wild. Yeah, so to get away from MMA a little bit, what was it like growing up? Did you grow up in Ashland, Mansfield area?
Yeah, I'm from Ashland. 97 would have been the year I should have graduated. Gangster rap was big. You know, high school kids want to find their identity.
Yep.
I was a thug.
Okay.
And there wasn't a lot of thugs in Ashland. There was like my group and another group. and we were constantly competing against each other so you could like break the most crimes.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Yeah, this is getting good. I want to hear about this. If it's okay. If
That's
you don't mind.
that's fine. Everybody
has a past.
Everybody in Ashland knows me. I'm like they know my past, but yeah, we sold drugs. So it's basically weed. It wasn't like it is today with the drugs, but sold drugs. I stole my my music teacher's Lexus.
Wow.
I didn't know it.
Never mind. I wasn't like that.
Yeah,
but
I didn't know it was her car. Actually, I owed somebody some money, and he threatened my life or whatever. It's a little drug dealer out in Mansfield. So me and another kid, we just started, casing houses or whatever. So we went to this real nice neighborhood, walked into the garage, and there's his Lexus. The keys are in it.
Easy.
Yeah, gotta take this.
Simple. So
we took the car, went to Cleveland looking for a chop shop. We're like 16 at the time, white kids, real smart. So we go to East 101st and start asking people about chop shops. There's just white kids in a Lexus. And this guy comes out off the porch. He's like, yeah, I'll give you guys $5,000 for it. I'm going to go in the house. Goes in the house, comes back, sits in the car, is revving it up, speeds down the street. The car's gone.
Wow.
And there we are, 4 white kids from Ashland on East 101st Street in Cleveland. There was a guy, I think, that was involved in it. He was involved with the stealing of the car on their end, but he gave us a ride back to our other car. So luckily we got out of there alive. And
we're like, hey, we just took your car, but at least we'll be cool about it.
Well, that guy that got in the car and took off essentially took all the blame for stealing the car.
Well, yeah. Well, when I got back home, the cops knew that we were all out of town. We're teenagers. Everybody's talking about this car and how we stole it.
Oh, okay.
I told them what happened in Cleveland. They didn't believe me. Like, that story's outlandish.
Gotcha.
They found the same guy. They found the car, same guy driving it. So everybody got their shit back, and it was cool. So that was my teenage years. And right out of high school, my girlfriend got pregnant with my daughter. I was 19 when she was born, and I had the same, like, all right, this is not about you now. You have to man up. Do you want to talk to your daughter through the jail glass?
Right.
So it wasn't an overnight thing. It slowly progressed. The older she got, the more she demanded from me, and so I got a decent job at the factory, and then I got into the MMA. I wasn't even into athletics in school at all.
No.
So I got into MMA and she basically raised my daughter at the gym. When you're running the gym, you got to be there. She would do her homework in the back, and I know it probably wasn't the best place to have a little girl, but at the same time, she was watching Daddy try to do something.
Yeah. That's why my daughter loves going to the gym.
Yeah.
For one, she likes to run around like a wild child. And she is. She's
like a playground.
She's a junior me.
Giant padded area.
Yeah.
No better place.
And two, you could tell she really. Like, for instance, her mom just told me she was at the park and she was talking to this girl that was a little bit older, and this girl, pointed at some random guy, and she's like, "Hey, is that your dad?" And Jordan's like, "No, my dad's a UFC fighter." Like, to her, it's like the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she knows. She always asks, like, when we're watching UFC, if I'm fighting that night. And I'm like, "Babe, I'm right here." Like, she doesn't get it. You know what I mean?
That's priceless. Like, I tell people all the time, make sure, because a lot of young parents, once they have kids, their life's over.
Yeah.
They're just parents now. And I tell people, do not stop living, because your kids are going to look for you as motivation.
Mm-hmm.
If you're, and I don't want to sound cynical or like an asshole, but if you're only being a parent, you're only taking your kids to soccer, you're only doing this, you're only doing that, all your kid knows you as is a parent. Mm. What was your passions? What were your motivations? What were you pursuing? My dad, that's all he did was work. He was a good provider.
Yeah.
Well, I never saw my dad enjoy himself. He just worked. Worked at his death basically.
My dad's the same way. He one of the hardest working guys I've ever met in my life, but super stud athlete. Same thing. Got in a bunch of trouble. Had me young. But yeah, I always looked at him like I didn't know him besides being the guy that goes to work, comes home miserable, starts drinking Budweiser. I was this beer bitch from the time I was 5 to probably, 12. He'd be working out in the garage, and I'd have to go get him beer all night. I mean, that was my job.
That was your bonding.
Yeah, that's what I knew him as, is the guy that was yelling in the garage, and I'd have to go get him a beer. We have a really good relationship now that we're both adults, and he, he's definitely calmed down a lot, but Yeah, I tell him that all the time. Like, you know, he could have went and played basketball.
Yeah.
You know, he was a stud athlete. He was dunking in like the 9th grade and
Hell
shit.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
He could have did whatever he wanted.
But yeah,
Could have been fake Razor Ramon.
yeah, he looked
He
like
coulda.
my dad looks like Scott Hall. He used to
does.
at least. So yeah, he could have done all that, but yeah, that's what I want to make sure my daughter doesn't just see me as a guy that provides for her. She sees me as like her hero, pretty much.
Yeah, you don't understand. Like we have a couple nephews that they're stud wrestlers, and people come up to us like, "Oh, it's in their genes." No, dude, we were not We were not top tier athletes. We weren't at all. I mean, I was a fuck up in high school. My little brother was a decent athlete, but we were nowhere near this level. So I always tell people it's not the genes. What it was is these my nephews were 2 and 3 years old, sitting cage side watching RFO.
Right.
Hanging
around
out,
it.
Yeah, they were hanging out with Cody Stevens. They were hanging out with Mike Williams. All these fighters that they knew personally. We had dinner with them. There they are, right here on the stage. So they know people who have done it. So like my nephew Carter, he's 5 years old. I'm gonna do that.
Right.
It's not a dream. He fucking knows
That's what he's gonna do.
because he's seen people do it. And
Right.
he believes that it's
He
possible.
sees people successful at it.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny you mentioned Mike. Anybody that doesn't know that guy would probably be like, my kids aren't going anywhere
That's
near
your
him. I'm not going anywhere near him. But like, yeah, you just said like, yeah, they were watching him, hanging out with him, and like that. To me, that's so funny, and that's like that kind of. It's you. Like you don't judge people that way. Like he's just a normal dude
Right.
to you, and the dude's covered head to toe in tattoos,
Oh.
like face tattoos.
Yeah,
and
he's
Yeah, I
got
was
everything.
trying to get an
he-
image going.
Yeah, he's got Darth Maul. Is that who?
Yeah, it looks like
Kinda
Darth
like
Maul.
that.
Wow.
And he
that
and he
comes-
like he doesn't he do like the hanging by his
Yeah, he hangs from the hooks.
Oh, okay. So
And I'm like,
he's
fuck that.
full on.
So
out,
I've
yeah.
known Mike since he was 9, probably. So for me to like him, that's just human nature. What kills me about Mike is the kids love him. The kids don't know this guy. They come to the fights, they see Mike. That he's probably the most asked for pictures. My
Oh, yeah.
daughter, all
Oh,
her
yeah.
friends. Can I get a picture?
I believe it. It's like a character come to life. Like he stepped right out of a movie or something.
And he's so solid. He was a big ticket draw. Always did what he said he was going to do. Always made weight. Always had money for the tickets.
Always a nice guy.
Oh yeah, always a gentleman.
Super nice guy. And you just like if you like I said, if you didn't know him off the street,
Man, if he walked into the bar and we were sitting there, like, oh shit.
Yeah, don't fuck
let's
with
get our
that guy.
shit. We're out of
Yeah,
here.
That guy's crazy.
But
Wow.
to go back to the RFO, what are some of your favorite memories or fights from there? I know you were there for every single event, obviously. And I remember seeing you, not even just being like, if I wasn't competing at the event and I was there, there's a couple times I'd see you in like in the front row just going at like a fan. I was just
Yeah.
like, dude, that's a guy that loves the sport or loves seeing people compete.
Yeah.
And that's why I was kind of like curious, what were some of your favorite fights?
I have favorite fighters, and a lot of that comes down to how easy it was to deal with them. You're one of the guys. Like Jeff always says, we love fighting for you. I thank you everything that you're doing. Some of the fighters you're always like they feel like you're always trying to get one over on them. When a fighter just knows that you're doing all that you can right away, and you cut through the bullshit, it's so nice.
I believe it.
Cody was great to watch. Mike Williams was great to watch.
Fun to watch.
You and Big John was one of my favorite fights.
I thought that was from a like outsider looking in, that was like kind of like the passing of the torch. We all
Yeah.
know Stipe's up here, and I was always trying to catch up to John. And when I wanted that fight for so long, and it was nothing against him. Like people, I think bring too much personal feelings into it. Like
Yeah.
I was like, I want to fight him because he's the man right now. He has. At the time, we didn't know if NASP was going under.
Right.
And I was like, he has the NASP belt. Kurt Lemon has the other belt. I was like, so if I beat them, I should be considered the man around here. So that's what I did. And
Yeah.
you gave me that opportunity. No questions asked. I said, hey, I want to fight Kurt Lemon. Boom. It was done. So
And it wasn't just you asking. Those were the fights that made sense.
it did.
These fights, these are the best. I wanted to, especially when Naps was on the ropes. Like no one knew, so we had to step up. It wasn't even like we tried to take their place. I mean, we had to step up, and it was a great opportunity. But Yeah, give the fans what the fights that need to happen.
Right.
You know? If you avoid those fights, then you get in trouble.
And even the amateurs were tough on your thing because you go to some of these like I can't even remember the name of it. It was like a EFP or something like that, and they had a couple decent pro fights, but their amateur fights were fucking garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, there'd be I remember seeing the one. It was a 1-6 versus an 0-5 guy. I mean, I'm not saying these guys shouldn't be allowed to do this,
Just
but
filler, yeah.
come on. Like, it ended up being 30 seconds. The one was like every fight was less than a minute long.
No, it's not entertaining for anybody. Not even the guys involved.
Nobody wants to see that. It's like they're not all going to be very entertaining finishes. You know what I mean?
It was bad. It wasn't worth the $25 or $30, whatever they were charging.
And those fights run quick like that, then they start throwing in more intermissions to get your night to last. It's just
Yeah.
You're just seeing more stuff that you don't want to see.
yeah. If you're watching a show and you understand the production value, it just goes down and down and down as those fights go on. Chris Green versus Dinos Angeles, probably one of the great fights.
That fight.
Dinos he was from Mansfield. He went to school with Cody. Chris Green was from East Liverpool. Was like, East Liverpool area.
So, like, with Stansbury and...
Yeah, Stansbury and
all
those guys, yeah. And
Those were some hard-nosed guys.
Hell
down
yes,
there.
they were.
Yeah. Joey Holt.
Yeah, you and John Hawk. There's so many, man. I don't...
It's hard to... Yeah, I know. It's hard to put
If
them
I had a list,
number.
I would, the Nate Jolly versus Cody fight was great because I knew that Cody wasn't in his best... he wasn't in his best fighting shape. He told me before that fight because he came to the weigh-ins like on crutches. I'm like, dude, you can't fight. He's like, I can fight way better than I can walk. Trust me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
No.
but he did. He fought his ass off. Like, I thought you had to walk before you could fight, but Cody Stevens proved different.
So there's this thing we have at the strong style. It's called a belt squat, and it is any way you look at it, it's torturous. I don't know if you've ever been on it. It's literally just a weight belt with a cable goes into the platform.
It's
right?
like Mike Williams to me. I stay away from that.
I don't blame you. I could barely do 5 minutes when I first started going to strong style. Barely. I was shaking my
So you
legs.
just straight squat.
And it's just you just march in place, right? You're marching, and the weight. There's no getting away from the weight. Anywhere you stand it's just always on your hips. It's probably the greatest tool for MMA. The greatest, yeah, I think it is. Cody Stevens did 25 minutes straight. 25 minutes straight on it. With, I think he had rubber bands attached to his arms. I think he had kettlebells in both hands. And I know for a fact he had a neck harness on.
Wow.
And he marched for 25 minutes straight.
God.
I could see him with the neck
limbs not
harness.
fall off. If that's that
He's
same.
built like he's built like a brick.
He's just a ball of muscle.
Yeah. That's the same thing that was in that video I took of you, right? That you were running with
That
all the different
that was
straps
the
and
I fucking can't remember that thing. That thing sucks too.
shit. Okay, that's
It's built similar to that though.
okay. So
But yeah, this thing is just like I call it the torture device. I mean, it really is. The guys from Westside Barbell developed it.
okay.
And those guys are as crazy as they come. That's
They
where
are.
Marcus is from.
Louis.
Yeah. And just to know that, I'm like, I'm a pretty mentally strong person, but no, like I would have broke.
Yeah.
I was on it for 15 straight minutes for my last fight, and I was like looking at Marcus like, get me the fuck out of here. And he's like, you still got 5 minutes. I'm
How'd
like,
you feel the next day?
That's the good thing about it is it doesn't hurt you. You might be a little sore, but you could do it every single day if you wanted to.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy. It's
yeah.
absolutely crazy. Yeah, it's just that's what type of person Cody is, man. Just kind of in a nutshell.
He's like that outside of the gym too. It's just the way he lives his life.
And to talk to him, he's like always high energy. I mean, the dude lost an eye
Yeah.
in his last fight, MMA fight ever. And like me, I'd be in a dark room and you'd never hear from me again. And he's just like, I'm gonna coach now. I'm gonna do jiu-jitsu. I'm like, come on, man. That's crazy to me.
That's passion, man. He likes that shit.
He loves. That's who he identifies as.
Yeah.
And I'm glad his gym's doing good. Because that is another thing that really it doesn't bother me. It worries me with these fighters. It was hard for me to make a transition from being a promoter to being a barber or working in the factory, we think that you're going to retire from and it goes away. But when you're a professional athlete and that goes away, like that's who you are. You're like, there's no high like it's a Saturday night, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's when you know that's gone forever, that's a major transition. And some guys never make that transition. They don't do it well.
It's going to be very tricky for me. I already know that. I can admit that.
But you work full time too, right? Like
I work part time right now.
Okay.
At a school. Pretty much a babysitter.
All right.
But you know, the principal calls me the bad kid whisperer because they all flock to me. You know, and I appreciate that because they don't listen to anybody else, but they'll listen to me.
That's
and I'm just an
perfect gig for you.
It really is.
It's like they know. It's like they know you were a bad kid too.
Because I let them get away with just enough, and then I pull the rug out. I'm like, nope. That's it. That's where I draw the line.
You had fun, didn't you?
Yeah.
You know all the tricks.
Like when I started catching some of the 7th graders vaping, I was like, hey, what's in your hand? They're like, nothing. I was like, I know what's in your hand. You're either going to give it to me or I'm going to just take it from you.
Give me the jewel.
That's what it is. Yep. And, yeah, they did. And they knew all day that they're like, oh, man, I'm going to be suspended. I'm in trouble. My parents are going to kill me. And I was just like, you're just not getting it back.
All right.
Like
It's gone
now.
You're
not in trouble. Again. You're not in trouble with me or anybody, but just know.
How'd you land that gig?
My sister-in-law is a teacher there, and she knew I was done delivering shingles after the Contender Series, and she said, hey, do you want a job? And I was like, no. I was like avoiding working at all costs.
Yeah.
I'm a full-time fighter now. I don't need to make money. I'll make plenty of money, which is not the case. So she was like, hey, put this application in. I didn't. Very first day of school, I just hear this car just fly up to my driveway, and I'm like, what's up? She's like, fill out an application right now. I need your help. I'm like, all right. So I did. I was hired the next day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was nice. It's something I could see myself doing after fighting. But I think, like you said, that thrill, that adrenaline, that I'll never see that again.
Right.
And that's why, if all goes well in the UFC, I'll be content. If it doesn't, I don't know if I'll be done fighting still. Because I know a lot of guys, they make it, they don't have a good first 2 fights, they get cut, and then they never fight again.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do that.
Right.
I'd start back at the bottom again. I don't care.
How old are you now?
30.
Yeah, so I
got a couple more years. I know. I mean, some of these guys are fighting into their 40s, which I don't want to do, but...
Right. I wouldn't want to either. I couldn't imagine even putting a camp in now at 40.
Yeah, is that how you're 40?
40.
Yeah.
Just turned 40 in December.
Well, you don't ever get hit, man. You could fight for a long time.
Yeah, right. Just run.
My cousin's trying to get me into pro wrestling. And,
I think that's a good option.
I know, but I just can't. The first time one of the promoters is like, "Hey, you're gonna lose this match," I'll be like, "Yeah, we'll see about that."
No, not tonight.
I'll go into the business for myself.
Something that kept me humble with MMA and the promoting. Even Saturday when our fights started to get bigger and we got big name pros on them. Saturday night we were all rock stars, And then Monday morning, I go back to my regular job, and some of the people knew what went on Saturday night, but my boss didn't know. Like, he didn't give a damn.
Yep.
These older guys, they're like, even some of my family, I don't think they ever really got the grasp of how big the RFO was. Like, they just thought we were running some kind of fight club out in the backyard.
I always get the old guys saying, "What, you do that kicking shit?" Well, yeah, I guess I do that kicking shit.
Yeah.
That kicking shit. Back in their day, the kicks weren't around.
You do fight UFC now, right?
I train UFC. But, all right. Where are we at, Mark, on time?
We're about 52 minutes, man.
Okay, I'm going to get a spitter.
Give or take. Go for it. Professionality around this place.
Yep. Sorry, they always leave on Joe.
No, for sure. Yeah, you guys are talking all kinds of stuff that I really have no insight on.
I was just going to ask you some
I'm the
questions.
producer guy this go, which I like it, but I don't have anything ready for this episode like I told Jeff earlier. The only thing I've really done is obsess over Game of Thrones the last week. So.
Are you a Game of Thrones guy?
Yeah, but not like, I'm not a super fan. I watch it.
Oh, gotcha.
But I don't go into the threads and study and research all this shit. But
I usually don't, but I am for this season.
Yeah, it's different this go around, I think.
There's so much to keep up on.
Right. Did you watch the last episode?
Yeah.
What did you think of it? I'll start with you, and then I'll go to Mark.
It was a little lackluster for me. But they ended it well, to find out what's going to go on with those two. the kid in the wheelchair, or the kid in the
Bran,
chair.
and Jamie.
Yeah.
Do you watch it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She's better with the names than me.
It took me a couple seasons to get.
Yes, some of those dudes even look the same, so it's really hard to know what family they're from or whatever.
And some of the names are the same, like even like Tyrion and Tywin. They're both Lannister. Like they're just way too many close names.
Too many close, yeah. What did you think, Mark?
I thought not much action happened, but a lot of information was given. A lot happened, but nothing really exciting happened aside from the end, like you said. I thought
structure set up, story set up.
Yeah, like you got to see people reunited. You finally want to see reunited, and like you got to see Bran be weird, which everybody is really loving right now.
Yeah.
And
he's like the number one meme out right now.
For sure. Him and the dragon thing, which I saw you saw it, but it's Jon Snow and Daenerys kissing, and then it cuts to Jon Snow looking over at the dragon, but then when it cuts to the dragon, it's Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy just staring at him. Oh, that's so good.
See, that's something I didn't notice. Or that meme I haven't seen either.
That's so good.
What other shows do you guys like?
Oh, shit. Right now, it's hard to think of any other show.
You ever watch OA?
I tried to get into the second season.
People have told me about it. I haven't.
Yeah.
OA's real good.
Did you like the second season?
Yeah.
I maybe watched the first 5 minutes and I fell asleep. But the first season, I loved it. And I actually read something you put on Facebook about it is why I started watching it.
Yeah, cool.
And it was just weird.
It's weird.
I like weird too.
The movements throw a lot of people off because it looks kind of hokey. But
it does, yeah.
It's very cool, and they did their homework. The second season, the first episode has nothing really to do.
Okay.
It appears to have nothing to do with the first season, so you have to, and then the second season, they kind of go back and forth each episode. So the first episode will introduce you to the new story. Second ties back into the old one. Third, and then it all comes together. But it's about. Do you know about it?
No, I've
explain it because you would know it better than I do. I only watched it one time through.
So it's a show about near-death experience and like our mystical powers. Basically, you ever seen Flatliners?
No.
Well, this group of people kill themselves and then they study their near-death experiences.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like that, except for a doctor like kidnaps these people and then kills them and then studies their.
So it's more like a sadistic experiment as opposed to like something they're doing on.
Yeah, voluntarily.
Gotcha.
Exactly. But when they're in these NDEs, they're getting messages on how to get out of the situation that they're in and tap into their psychic abilities or whatever.
Gotcha.
It's far out.
Very Assassin's Creed like is what it's sounding to me. Kind of like, well, they're just getting fed information in this weird world to the point where they can manipulate it and shit like that.
I had no idea. So I was talking to somebody about this. It wasn't OA, but just about our hidden potential.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's Assassin's Creed. I'm like, I'd never played that game, but it sounds badass.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
They're hard to follow, but yeah, it's something similar to it.
Yeah, it sounds a lot.
So in the first one, when they died, weren't they? Did he drown them? Is that how he killed them?
Yeah, he had like
a mask over him?
Yeah, like a reverse. You know, like the old deep sea diver headsets.
Yeah.
He would fill it with water. And
Oh shit!
Like that.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It was.
No thanks.
I really enjoyed the first season. I'm gonna go back and probably watch because it's been. I mean, they took a 2-year break in between. I didn't think so either.
Yeah,
because they kind of ended the first season on like it wasn't so much a cliffhanger as it almost felt like it was just done.
Closure. Yeah. They could have left it alone.
Yeah, I actually thought it was canceled because when it first came out, a lot of people were recommending it to me, and I was like, I usually wait until there's like a second season before I get into something, and then I didn't hear anything about it forever, and then just recently somebody brought it up again. I was like, I didn't even know that was still around.
And you got into Black Mirror, correct?
Black Mirror is awesome.
Yeah, that's another one I need to get into.
You haven't watched any of those?
No, and I tried to, and it's just sometimes life is so busy, but like I have to binge watch it to get into it.
Don't binge watch Black Mirror.
No,
it's bad for your mental health.
You don't even have to because they're all different.
Yeah, they're not sequential.
Okay,
so, you could really watch them in whatever order. I would watch them in the order they come out because it does take place in its own little like world, and like you learn a little bit more about that world as the episodes come out. So like if you went and watched something in like season 4, they might be referencing something from like season 1 that you don't understand.
Okay.
So you'd get more out of it by actually watching it the way you're supposed to.
I always tell people to start with episode 3. episode 1 and 2, they're like, are they UK? They're like,
It was
the whole
that's
first
when I
season
realized
was
it was
kinda
British.
UK.
yeah, it's British. So the first 2 episodes are like, what the.
The first one's really fun.
It's just really bad. Not bad as in horrible
Just
quality,
crazy.
just crazy story.
Yeah.
So I start with 3. I ran all the way through them, and then went back and watched 1 and 2.
Okay, that's what I'll do then.
They're a little more palatable, I guess that you could say.
Yeah. The whole like shared world thing doesn't really come in until like the later seasons, but yeah, it's.
We're so close to that stuff and that story.
Oh, I know.
And all right, so it's
You
like-
guys could probably talk about this a lot. This is something you guys can agree on.
I'm gonna tell you one of my favorite episodes. I'll give you a little bit of
I wonder
a
which
plot
one it
twist.
is. I wonder if it's mine.
So this girl, they're young, married. Her husband dies in a car wreck.
Okay, I know this.
She's lonely, depressed, grieving like a normal person would, and she finds this app that can talk to her from her husband's perspective. So what this app does is it goes into all your social media and then puts together algorithms and would respond the way that you would respond.
Okay.
Because it understands your nature by your social media interactions. So she's on her computer and conversating with her dead husband, basically, but it's algorithms,
Holy shit.
right? So she's basically re-falling in love with her husband that's not there anymore. The app contacts her and says, there's another level to this game. And that comes across her screen. And then the next scene that you notice, there's a box that comes through the door. A huge crate. She opens the crate and there's her husband. Like in plastic form. He looks just like a human.
But it was like a dummy, pretty much.
Right.
It's-
He's a cyborg.
Kinda
Oh,
like,
okay.
Yeah.
So
like
now-
a living one of those sex dolls almost. Yeah.
Like a sex doll. So now the algorithms are running through him in like a robot form.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jesus.
we're so close to that. Like the technology, that's what really gets you about that show. Is it's not so far out. Like it's 5-10 years from now. Like
Yeah.
these technologies could be right there.
And that's scary because like like you said, it could happen. So people are that like I almost feel like the human body needs like that grieving and all that like to really understand itself completely, and like you don't have to deal with that anymore. If somebody died, say your mother died, and you're like, I miss my mother, and they can send you your mother, like it's just as good as the old thing.
There's
It's just fucking weird to me.
my favorite episode actually won an Emmy, which I was really happy about. That's the reason I actually remember the name of the episode, but it's called San Junipero. Can't remember. I think it was like season 3 or whatever.
It's my daughter's favorite episode.
Is it? All right, so he knows what I'm talking about. I love this one so much. Like, I wish this shit was real because I want to do it. But essentially, people can upload their consciousness into like a hard drive and go in this digital world and be in whatever time period they want. And they could be as old as they want. So, like, I could be like a 90-year-old dude, go back to the 90s and live as myself, and then, like, late teens as the 90s and shit. Or in the 90s and shit. And everyone in this world is that. Like, you're living in this time period. Or you could go to the 80s, you can go to the 70s, whatever. And essentially, when you die, you can choose to just upload your consciousness in there and just live there, essentially, in
Choose
heaven.
your heaven.
Yeah.
Like, to the point where, like, it changed my perspective on the song Heaven is a Place on Earth. Like, because that song is in there, and that's how the whole episode ends, is with that song. And that is essentially the concept of the whole episode, is that you can either die or do whatever happens after you actually die, or you can go to this own private heaven you want to, or you can do it while you're alive. Fuck it.
Yeah, that's what they do. They actually they're older and they test out these different spots. But like you were saying with the grandma, so you're eliminating the grieving process, which is human. My fear is those whatever we create becomes conscious, and then we have consciousness that's trapped. That's why I would never upload my consciousness into something.
Yeah.
Because what if you, no matter how much you love this heaven and how specific it is created, you're going to grow tired of it.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have death and rebirth, and if you trap consciousness into something, I think that might be the end game. You know?
Yeah. No, see, I don't know if I would want to like let my body die and live on throughout that, but I would definitely like to experience that, like in like now at this age or whatever, But I think I would still choose to die and see because even with that not existing now, I still wonder what happens when you die and shit. Like eventually, I'm gonna choose to die. Yeah. I think.
I don't know if it's non-existent though. That's the thing. Like, how much is How much do they know that they're not telling us?
That's the risk, right? Yeah.
Like the one day I
maybe
came
you're
over
just
and you
done
thought we
after
were
that.
in the Matrix or something. Remember that? You're like, I'm starting to think we're in the Matrix.
Dude, every day I think
are,
more
too.
we're in a simulation.
We are in a
Some things
simulation.
work out way too conveniently or just seem to sync right up.
Well, how
It's
funny.
weird.
How funny is shit. Like, there's little pokes of comedy. That shouldn't be comedy.
Yeah.
Like, ain't that wiener guy sending dick pics? Like, there's...
Yeah, his name is Wiener, and he's
Yeah.
known for sending dick pics.
Yeah, and Trump being the president, and then it tied into The Simpsons, and
Oh yeah, that's
Biff
true.
from Back to the Future. All this shit is like, it's like a little wink.
Yeah. Have you actually
Yeah.
heard that Baron von Trump conspiracy or whatever? There was a book written like a long ass time ago, and it basically describes the rise of Donald Trump, except for the whole reason it's happening is because he time traveled. Like, it's ridiculous though how similar
awesome.
the story is. Like,
It's an old
the
book then, I'm
names-
guessing.
it's I think it's like the something of Baron von Trump or some shit. Just look up Baron von Trump or Trump conspiracy, and you'll look at it. Dude, it's crazy just how similar it is.
All right,
Ridiculous.
So we know we're going to be able to create virtual reality that's indistinguishable from reality. That's coming. You're going to put a headset on and not even know that you have a headset on.
Yeah.
Who's to say that that's not already happening?
That's what I think about also.
Oh,
a
they
lot.
say that-
Like, did I sit down 10 years ago and I'm living this life, and then eventually they're going to take it off, and they're like, okay, now figure it out. I'm like, what? Wait a minute.
Well, you
know?
might not ever take it off.
Yeah.
Like the name of the game might be to create the next version of consciousness. And then you know, humans as we know them fade away, and then we created the next version.
Shit.
It hasn't always been. Humans haven't always been like we are today.
Right.
I mean, we know that. We know enough of that, and there's a lot we don't know about the past. But this could happen over and over and over again, like a silkworm. Like a silkworm will blindly consume a leaf until it throws up, create a cocoon, and now it's a butterfly.
Mm.
Does the silkworm know what it's doing? Like, we're just kind of blindly consuming, chasing technology.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
For all we know, we're doing it right now. Like, when we die, we wake up and we're like, oh yeah, I forgot.
Of course.
You know? Like, it's crazy.
It's too trippy, dude. It's like, is this really... Like, I don't think about it on a normal basis, but sometimes I do. Like, when the day he was all about it. He's like, dude, we live in a simulation. And I'm like,
Well, the thing
and I
that
started thinking about, like, maybe we fucking do.
it's Elon Musk. Elon Musk said it on Joe Rogan. He was like, I'm starting to think more and more every day that we live in a simulation. I was like, if Elon Musk thinks that, there's got to be something to it, right? But maybe not.
Well, there's the astrophysicist. I can't remember the guy's name, but he said the entire universe is binary. It's a code of ones and zeros. It's just like computer code. I think about it a lot. But probably more than I should, but I spend a lot of time by myself. But I think about a lot of that shit.
That was like one of the I definitely wanted to talk MMA on this because that's kind of goes hand in hand with you. But like I knew, like I want to know you went to India. You guys both went to India, correct?
Just me. She didn't go with me.
She didn't go.
No.
What did that? Obviously that changed your life and the way you think, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
events.
no?
Yeah. The events leading up to India. The events leading up to India gave me the courage to go to India. And then when I was in India, I realized how much the power of culture and environment. Because I spent most of the time... All right, so here's the backstory of India. Because everyone's like, why the hell did you go to Hyderabad? I had a coworker who was from Hyderabad. He was Muslim. Him and I talked about a lot of conspiracies, religion, the empire that is America, just getting a Muslim's perspective of it. He says, my brother's getting married, and it's going to be a traditional Muslim wedding. You can come, pay for your plane ticket, you stay at my house. And I was like, oh, hell yes, man. I jumped on that. I go to India. All the older people my age, they're busy with the wedding. So I spent most of my time with like 16 to 19-year-old. And this is a super conservative Muslim neighborhood. Like, all face coverings, you don't talk to any of the women. And so I got to talking to these kids, and they were just like American kids, except for they were Muslims, all of their belief systems was because of where they were from, their neighborhood. So I started to question my thoughts, my beliefs. We're a Christian nation. We believe, we're proud flag flying people and all that shit. All of that comes down to just your culture, where you're from. So that led me into questioning my narratives, questioning what it was that I believe. And then I've studied religion for probably like 7 years. I didn't grow up in the church, but I went to church as a teenager to get out of my house, So I always knew there's more to the package than what they were telling you at church. Like it was almost like a kindergarten version of Christianity. No offense to anybody, but that's how.
No.
It's the best way for me to say.
Yeah, I am. I'm like lost. I don't know what there is, if there is. I'm one of those people that I need to know answers to but I know I'll probably never find what really happens until the day you die.
Well, it's like what he said. I think when you die, you just chuckle and say, "Of course." I think that happens over and over and over again.
Yeah.
What I think this is the Creator, whatever that is. Not everyone, but most people are going to see a gray bearded man in the sky when you say Creator. I don't think it's anything like that. The human mind can't conceive of God. But if the three of us created a car, we built this car, the closest we're going to get to understanding what it's like to be that car is to drive it. Mm-hmm. But if you're omnipresent, you could actually become that car. How can you feel what it's like to be something that you created? Consciousness. So the Creator is consciousness living through all of us.
Yeah, and then it's like the whole like we are all sparks of God, essentially, like people say.
Spark of divinity.
Buddhists, yeah.
Everyone has the spark of the divine.
We all make our way, but we're basically just gathering information. God is living vicariously through all of us.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's why Jesus can say, "I'm the Son of God," just like all of you are.
And he did say that.
Yeah.
I've read the New Testament. I've read all the Gnostic Gospels. He constantly said that. He never said that I am the only Son of God.
No.
I have this actually, Psalms 82:6 tattooed on me.
Mm.
The Pharisees come to him and they say they're going to stone him. He said, "Why are you going to stone me? For which of my good works are you going to stone me?" And they said, "For the good works, we're not going to stone you, but for blasphemy, because you said you're the Son of God." Mm. And he says, "Your book says that we are all sons of the Most High." That's Psalms 82:6. We're all sons of God. That's why the reason he was crucified is because he told people that. And then the Romans switched the message. They said, they put him up on a pedestal. Jesus is the only Son of God. You're nothing. Let's get back to business.
Jeez. I think it's
crazy how it all works.
I tried to watch, you can only...
Well, a lot of people aren't comfortable going into that.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Because when it comes to it, I'm stupid when it comes to all that stuff.
Well, when it comes down to it, I could talk about all different aspects of it because, I just don't know. Like, it's all just as possible as the other.
Exactly.
Just like aliens created us all. That's just as crazy as God creating us all. You know what I mean? If not the same thing.
Well, you grew up in a very Christian house, right?
Yeah. I went to church every Sunday and Wednesday all the way up until I didn't have to.
Or you didn't have doors in the house?
Well, we had doors on the bathroom, but yeah, we had curtains. We had little part of the podcast about this too. Mark grew up without doors.
Yeah, it wasn't always on the bathroom though.
No. There was at one point there was also a curtain on the bathroom.
It was very awkward taking a shit in your house.
My brother-in-law coming to stay for a week that there was we need to put a bathroom because he was very self-conscious about it.
Why was the mirrors what was the curtains? No masturbation?
Pretty much, or just wait till somebody left, or very.
What does that sound like a curtain, Mark?
Just looking around constantly. That's what it was. But
the church is what I've seen. I've talked through barbering. I'll have these conversations with young people, and there's people that go to church, involved in the church, that agree wholeheartedly with what I say, what I think that I've found or whatever. This is not. And these aren't any huge revelations. If you look, all religions say the same thing across the board. They just can't. They don't share notes. Our guy said that. Our guy said that too.
Yeah.
They always have to be the right guy. But
that drives me crazy about religion.
You compare them; they're all saying the same thing.
Exactly. They're. Some of them are saying the exact same thing, telling the exact same story.
Same story. Yeah.
That's what I always. Like I said, I'm really uneducated when it comes to all this. I like listening more than I like to actually read on stuff. So this is all very fascinating. But I noticed that every religion has something to do with the sky. And I said, and I was talking to my mom about it, and I was like, there has to be something to that. They're always talking about something coming from the sky, something, and I'm like, what is that? So I just feel like you said, like they all kind of are very similar, but they won't admit that they're similar with each other.
And you said coming from the sky. I just listened to American Cosmic, the Audible book, and what that book goes over is comparing mystical, Christian, religious mystical experiences to, say, alien abductions. And they're very similar experiences, except for the culture and the wording, how you describe it. Like if you say you're a UFO guy, you're into aliens, you watch all the alien shows, and you have a mystical experience, you're gonna say, "My God, dude, there's aliens here last night." Like, you wouldn't believe it. Yeah. And then if you're 65 and you grew up in the Catholic Church, you're gonna say that you saw Jesus.
Yep.
God came and talked to me. Yeah.
Yeah. My friends in India would say that Allah came here, or Muhammad. They saw Muhammad.
Yeah. Well, there's Indian stories where they don't even hide that it was some flying thing in the sky. Like they have a word for it called vimanas, and which is basically the word vimana means a flying chariot in the sky, which at a time would not exist in in that. You know what I mean? Like there's
a chariot because they didn't have salt. There's no saucer.
And essentially because chariots had wheels and it was like shaped like a wheel or something. I don't know. All I know is that they actually have tales that are in their religion of giant battles in the sky between the gods and shit, which is crazy. Right. It's so crazy. They have artwork depicting it. Not only that, but Indian artwork is fucking incredible. Yeah, it is. Some of the best religious artwork you will ever see.
It's ahead of its time.
For sure.
Or it's not.
I mean, it was so seeing a detailed blue elephant man is way back then is pretty insane. As weird as that sounds.
And that's exactly what the Hindus believe.
Yeah. Like the Baba Ganoush or whatever.
Yeah, so their gods have all these arms and heads.
The Ganesh, that's what it was.
Yeah, Ganesh.
Like Baba Ganoush is like a term somebody said on something.
It's a Sopranos term, I think.
It has all these heads and arms, so it can't, like the left arm doesn't know what the right arm is doing. God is all of us, it's all tentacles. God is everything, the trees, the grass, whatever. That's what the Hindus believe. There's one source energy and it feeds the rest of us.
Now I'm going to have to YouTube all this stuff. I swear, this is what I'm doing tonight. I know what I'm doing
Dude, tonight. And I bet you could YouTube every single bit of it.
Oh, for sure. There's a lot on there. But even the Christian doctrine, the Old Testament talks about the sons of man came and mated with the women. That's why God flooded the earth, because the sons of man came down and mated with women. So there was gods that came out of the sky, slept with women, and God's like, no, that's
not what we're doing.
Yeah.
And the Great Flood the story is consistent across cultures.
Oh yeah.
Was the whole earth flooded? Hell no, but there was a huge problem. And science says that's when the glaciers, the ice age ended.
Ice age, okay.
Melted off and water levels rose.
So do you think the earth is as old as it is, or? Because I know there's a lot of people out there that don't think the Earth is. They think it's like 5,000 years old.
Yeah, new Earthers. No, it's old. It's older than. I think it's probably older than science thinks it is. Oh. And that's another thing. Is like, you ever watch One Strange Rock on Netflix? Mm-mm. That's a great show, people.
All right, I've heard about it, but
but it's scientific. It goes into science about how the Earth was created, and it almost sounds like they're reading from Genesis. Like you can. Because they'll say that in the beginning, Earth was just carbon, and then there was water on the Earth, and then eventually bacteria in the water came crawling out. We all started as I don't remember the name of it, but basically water cells, and then Genesis says in the beginning it was dark, and the consciousness moved across the water. It's like
it's saying the same thing, in different words.
Yep.
It's like science and spirituality pretty much just go hand in hand. You just got to connect the dots somehow, or the science hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's science now that backs up consciousness that people would have never believed 30 years ago.
Right.
When like gurus and shit were talking about it.
Yeah, science is starting to confirm what the mystics have been saying forever, which is fascinating.
I know. What a time to be alive, man.
It is the greatest time.
What's 50 years from now going to look like, though?
Absolutely terrible. No, it's gonna be that. We're going downhill. We're devolving.
It's gonna get worse.
No, I don't know.
I think we get better. I
do too.
No, it's definitely gonna get better.
I have a few theories. I think we're headed back to Eden. We're heading back to the garden. But sometimes I think that where we might see a species split. Like we might see humanity go 2 different directions.
Oh, so you're saying like almost like a new stage of evolution.
Yeah, well, like and where I live, there's Amish. They've never adopted electricity, motor cars, or anything. So there's going to come a time when we're already relying on our artificial intelligence, our technology.
Like devices,
there's going to come a time when the species is going to have to really commit to it, and I don't think that there's going to be a lot of people that won't sign on.
Yeah. There's going to be basically human-machine hybrid people. Like they're going to start like integrating the technology into their biology.
I think we're super close to that already. I think,
yeah, that's already happening. There's
like
people doing it at home themselves.
15 years from now, are we even going to have phones?
Yeah.
Are we just going to go?
Just gonna have chips.
I know what I want to say to this guy, so
that's why you need to watch Black Mirror, man.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why you need to watch Black Mirror.
All right. Yeah. Like instead of like me waiting around to hear from Mark about what time we doing this, I can just be like, oh, he wants to do 4:00. Okay.
You're not gonna want to be in my head after a while, though, man.
So when you said you think when we die, you just say, of course.
I think that's a good possibility. Yeah.
So who's to say we create this technology, and you're communicating with each other telepathically, and once you do it, you realize that we have that potential in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because there's already people that can remote view, or you get a gut feeling when someone. You ever get a gut feeling or think of somebody and there they are? They text. Or
they call. Yeah. Yep. Or you run into them the next day.
So we might be creating a better version of human that we already were at one time. So. I just think
I actually just had an experience similar to it today happened.
This is a good 420 conversation.
It really is. It really is.
I have my mom's cousin. I haven't talked to her in probably 10 years or so, and my mom just brought her up the last time I saw my mom. And today at Walmart, I ran into her, and I was like, "That's just to me, that's weird." People call it a coincidence or whatever, but something could have like my mom's brain could have worked and been like, "You're gonna see her. Let me remind you who she is." And then I saw her today, and I was like, kind of fucked up. I don't know.
It's either
you manifested it.
We either manifest it or we sense it. One of the two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's either we created it or it was telling us that it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna.
One of the two.
And now that we're talking about this, it's just like kind of like at the time when I saw her, I was just like, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" But I was like, it's kind of weird now that we're like kind of talking about it and it happened. I haven't,
Yeah,
so.
no. That happens in all kinds of ways for me. Like I'll just think about like a movie or something recently, and then it just happens to come on Netflix this month or something, or like just weird little things like that, even in the slightest ways, like strange things.
I gotta see Black Mirror now.
Or like,
got me hooked.
I will be having a conversation with somebody while a podcast is playing in the background, and I'll say like a specific word, and then they will say that specific word right after that.
Yeah.
It's weird.
That does happen sometimes, yeah.
See, that's a universal wink, I think.
It's just like, yeah, we're here. It's all kind of, there's something here. Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that don't listen to any of that. They don't listen to gut feelings. They're always negative talk. Like you going to the UFC, did you always believe, or did you pick up momentum as you went on? Like
from the time I was 17, I told my mom I'm going to be in the UFC.
Yeah, see, you manifested that.
Yeah.
I try to tell people how important self-talk is. If you're constantly, like, you'll see people that are clumsy or whatever. Oh, you dumb fuck, They're always beating themselves up everywhere they go, and they're more and more clumsy as they progress. They're manifesting those things that happen. If you want to win, if you want to overcome anything, you have to keep telling yourself, "I can do this." This is not like you have to speak it into existence.
I'm a very firm believer in positive thinking. So, like, I know a lot of fighters, for instance, because that's what I'm most comfortable with is fighting. A lot of guys will think of themselves in bad positions in the fight, and I'm like, I can't do it. I'll make myself go crazy because, like, in my head, when I visualize that fight, I'm never in a bad position. I'm never on my back. I'm never getting punched. I'm the one doing it. Mm-hmm. And I think people that think this way of, like, man, I could get stuck under this guy. I could get trapped. I could get my arm stuck in something. Like, they're almost telling themselves it's going to happen.
Yeah, they're yep.
I just can't do it.
My first 2 pro fights, I never thought at all about what the other guy was going to do. I just went in and steamrolled him. Mm-hmm. My 3rd fight was at Fight Fest, and it was for Hoist Gracie. It was in an arena, like 4,500 people. The whole time I was scared shitless.
Yeah.
this guy, I could go out here and get hurt. All these people are watching. Like, and I went out there and just got my ass kicked. When I didn't think about what that person was doing and only thought about what I was doing, that's when I performed well.
Because you had no fear. I feel like there's a little bit of fear that...
You plant a seed.
Yeah.
I'm going to use the restroom real quick.
Oh, go for it.
I'm a big believer in that.
Speak amongst yourselves. I'm going to manifest.
I don't remember how to talk to Mark by myself.
This turned into a very different conversation. I like it, though.
Yeah. I knew it would. I had to get out of the MMA shit out of the way, though.
Yeah. No, I knew that would happen.
I think, just going back to Game of Thrones, I think this week is going to be fucking awesome, by the way.
I think the Battle of Winterfell is happening.
I think that's how... I think it's 3 because they added 22 minutes to it.
Oh, you're right. I didn't think about that. Yeah, the first 2 episodes
they
are
just
still
added 22 minutes of it. And I guess it's going to be like the longest battle in cinema history.
Really?
Like from the start to the finish is the battle.
I heard it's like 3 times bigger than Battle of the Bastards, and that was the biggest one they've done so far.
And that was awesome.
Yeah, Battle of the Bastards was great.
I think this one, I was a little disappointed in this episode because I thought, like, you have 6 episodes to do it. You guys gotta make something crazy happen. But now that it's almost Sunday, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Now
is it gonna be on tomorrow? Because it's Easter.
Yeah. Dude, if it wasn't on tomorrow, people would. It'd be the worst
raise
Easter
hell.
ever. Yeah.
Be another crucifixion.
Yeah, they'll kill Jesus again, dude.
So, all right, I want to talk about how much time we got left.
Whatever time you want.
All right.
So we're done.
Like you just said, they'd kill Jesus again. Do you think if someone came, Jesus per se, one person, came today, they wouldn't do the same thing to him? I think they would.
I don't know if
crucify him again.
I don't think they would crucify him. I think there'd be too many people that would think that was terrible just to kill somebody just because he's saying something. But I think if Jesus came back today, you know what I mean, and said, "Hey, I'm Jesus," and was like trying, and essentially this
is what I really meant.
Yeah, I think people just wouldn't believe him.
Put him in the
They
mental
just think
ward.
he's a crazy person.
He'd be like on Zoloft in about 3 minutes. Here you go.
Jesus couldn't happen today. Even if somebody was born and was doing crazy stuff from birth and was claiming to be, the reincarnation of Jesus or something, I think people would still call bullshit.
Yeah, black magic.
Yeah, or something like.
Yeah,
like James, you know who James Randi is? He's like a guy that he's always, to this day, he has $1 million. He put $1 million out there for anybody to show him actual proof of real psychic ability, and to this day, he's always been able to debunk it. So I think people like him would immediately go out there and try to call his bullshit, and even if they couldn't, they would still deny it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? There's always gonna be deniers, no matter what. And
there was back then too, though.
Yeah, well, no, exactly. That's what killed. But I don't think nowadays people could get away with crucifying someone.
Right. Yeah, not literal. Probably not.
Yeah, just they'd crucify them. They'd defame them, essentially.
My theory is the reason they kill the mystics is because they're giving away the game. If everyone says, "Yeah, Jesus is right. We are all sons of God," what would we have done? What are we going to do? Just lay around and it's just going to be an orgy all the time, or we're going to sit and pray and meditate? We wouldn't create all the things that we've created since then.
Yeah.
So when someone comes out like that, you're going to ruin the game. It's
Let's eliminate them.
Yeah, it's like telling a kid that sorry, spoiler alert. Telling a kid Santa Claus isn't real.
Right.
He's giving away the game. You don't want to tell everybody.
Yeah, and then your kid's that asshole kid that lets everybody know it's cool.
Yeah, he's the one whispering in the back. It's all a farce.
Yeah, they're lying to us.
I think there's a lot of people out there that think though that the whole God and Jesus thing is just a big Santa Claus thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? My cousin's one of them. He's like, yeah, Santa Claus isn't real. Why? What makes me believe that this guy is real?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm like, dude, there's a whole bunch of shit out there to tell you that it is real.
And that could very well be the case that it's not real, but it could very well be that it is. There's just as much to back up that it's real as there isn't to back up that it's real.
What is real? That's the thing. All right, so we're talking Santa Claus, religion, God. Think of the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz, there was a guy behind the curtain. Mm-hmm. What was the message? Once they realized the guy was behind the curtain and it was all a show, what was the message?
He was just a regular guy. That's how I took it.
Well, everyone went to Oz because they had something that they were missing.
Yeah.
The message was they had it all the time.
Yeah, they had it all along.
Yeah, he always had. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's basically what the Wizard of Oz ties it. It's not something in the sky. It's right here. The divine spark is within us. We've had it all along.
Well, I'll never look at that movie the same way.
Really, when it comes down to it, like there's a rap group called Jedi Mind Tricks, and they once said, and I don't know if this is from a movie or what, but they repeat it a lot, and it says you don't got to go to church to get to know your God. And makes total sense. Like and then basically what that says to me is like spirituality is something that's personal. Like it has nothing to do with you, nothing to do with you. Like it's whatever it is to you. So like your beliefs are your beliefs, and nobody should have any say. Like you can talk to people about it, but like when it comes down to it, you're gonna believe what you're gonna believe, and you're gonna believe it for your own reasons. And no one is gonna change that really, unless you decide that they're gonna change that.
Right. You let them.
Yeah. So
the Bhagavad Gita, which is a Hindu book, it's the Song of God. It says no matter who they worship, they're all worshiping me. He wasn't a vengeful God or a jealous God. The Hindu God says, let them worship whoever they want. It's me. It's all me.
Man, wow, he's even saying that. They're like, look, it's all the same.
Yeah.
Like right there, it's in the word.
So, where do you see yourself a year from now? What's some of your goals you got planned?
Get your license?
Yeah, Jeffy's going to help me get my license, I guess.
Right on.
You said by age 33, but apparently it's by age 32 now.
Yeah. But, don't wait till 33. They might crucify you before that.
Oh, wow, I didn't think of that. Jesus. There's another coincidence.
Yeah, 33
This is a simulation. I don't know. Hopefully not farther behind, only further forward. I'm hoping maybe a few more 100 views an episode, if not more.
We're getting a lot of views this episode.
You know,
this should pick up some static.
Good, I hope so.
Yeah, it's been a conversation that's long overdue because I get on Facebook and do these little 5 or 10 minute videos, and I talk a little bit about what I've been thinking about or what I've been reading.
Okay.
How to apply it. But I've never sat down in a long form like this. This is good.
Yeah, I like doing it like this. The pressure's off. You don't gotta you can kind of just shoot the shit. Just go with the flow. That's what I like about this.
Well, you ever put something out and be like, man, I should have said this or should have said that?
Every single time.
I can say some things, let you guys talk, and okay, now I'm gonna say what.
Every single time. Like I'll even pick apart the way I said something. I was like, I could have said that much better. Like I could have made that much clearer and got my point across.
Yeah.
But that's just a side effect.
My enunciation.
Yeah, or just I don't know, up my vocabulary or something.
It gets to the point where I forget this thing is even here. It takes about 5 minutes usually, and I forget this is even here, and then it just turns into a conversation. Yeah. That's what I think people appreciate about podcasts the most.
Yeah, I think the more
it's not an interview; it's a conversation, and I know a lot of people that like to eavesdrop on people's conversation.
Yeah, they can relate to it more when it seems more it's almost like they're with you.
Yeah.
I think we should. This is our next political race. They should have a debate like this.
You should.
Both of the candidates should go on a Rogan platform.
That would be fucking awesome.
I swear it's not like 15 seconds of them going at each other's neck and the crowd cheers. No, sit down. I want to know who you are. Give me 3 hours of your time.
That's my biggest thing is I've never voted. I've never voted, and I don't see myself voting because I don't know this person. I don't know who this person is to lead this country.
Yeah, no,
and is it even worth having one person do it anymore? How many people are in America? 300 and some million?
Yeah. Joe Rogan talks about that all the time. He's like, maybe back in the day when there were just like few hundred people, few thousand people, yeah, you could keep track of that. It's like nowadays, you can't just put one guy in there to make decisions for.
And all it's turned
really not the
300 million
anyway.
people.
No.
Yeah,
I mean.
They're a figurehead. Most people with common sense knows that he's not pulling the strings. But I feel at this point it's almost divided this country so much.
Yeah,
and that's the thing I do understand is 90% of the people that I consider my friends or family or whatever, it doesn't matter who the fuck you voted for. I still love you the same way. Right. But I've lost relationships with friends or we're all drinking, having a good time, and it ruins the night because
you won't worship their God.
Yeah. I won't shut the I won't. You can't put me in my place if I feel like I'm right or you're just trying to tell me what you feel is right, and it's like, no, there's other opinions of this, and then like you try to make me feel bad for what I think, and it's like,
exactly,
dude, like, try to put the shoe on the other foot, like type deal. Like I
have an open mind.
Yeah, I don't feel like if you voted for Hillary or anybody or Trump, or I don't feel any way about it. Like that's who you wanted to, but like don't make me feel bad for it.
It's none really, when it comes down to it, it's none of their business and it's none of yours. Like,
but that's the problem. They've made it. You used to not talk about who you voted for.
Yeah, politics are something you just didn't talk about.
Now they want you to, like, who's your team? Like, you have to almost put it on your Facebook profile.
Right.
Who you're rooting for.
And there's no point in doing it. How many political conversations have you seen happen or been in where it ended like, you know what? You're right. I'm a Democrat now.
Yeah, change
Never.
mind.
Never. It's pointless. Just don't even do it.
I worked at a bar for 6 years, and I said the couple things you never talk to anybody about is politics, religion, or money.
Yeah.
Because that will end in an argument 99% of the time.
And that's all I want to talk about is religion.
It's fun when you get some
We'll be
people
drinking
that
beers
can
and
talk about
smoking,
it.
and we'll be in a circle, and I'll start talking about consciousness, and it's like, it works pretty good with my friends because they.
But you also keep an open mind about it. You're not like, this is how it is.
Yeah, I'm not preaching at it. I'm trying to get them to believe it.
That's the thing I don't like is when people preach at me and this is how I should feel about it.
You want to save your soul, boy?
Yeah, that kind of shit. Yeah. I'm like, dude, I'd leave it. I'm a pretty good person, and I don't go to church, but.
In a year, what's your year?
I honestly, I just want to make money so my future wife and my kid and my future kids are taken care of a little bit, because I grew up as a poor kid,
right.
And I remember what it was like seeing kids with brand new shoes. And I know it's a materialistic thing, but like growing up, man, that's like a big thing for me. Like I'm wearing Beavis and Butthead shoes right now. I could care less what people think about what I'm wearing. It's more or less I don't want them picked on.
Right.
So try to win some fights, and I everything I'm doing right now, I want to get married in the next year. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you feel when you got in the UFC, when you walked in the octagon, did you feel like, all right, this is the beginning or the next step of my journey, or did you feel like some completion?
I thought I was gonna feel a little bit of completion, but it was like it wasn't. It was like I need to keep going.
That's good.
I was happy that I got to where I was.
That's why you're still winning.
Yeah, and I wanted to fucking like.
Yeah.
But like I didn't feel nervous. I felt more like you hear about people getting the pre-fight UFC jitters. I felt more comfortable. I felt more comfortable in that setting than the first time I stepped in the RFO cage.
Really?
I was like, I belong here. I belong here in this. Yeah. So
this is where I've been headed. The whole time.
That's good. That's good. If it was the other way around, I'd say there was a problem.
I've seen guys that. Josh Hendricks is one of the guys. He made it to the UFC. Granted, he fought Gabe Gonzaga
in his prime, yeah.
But as soon as he walked in the cage, Josh is like, exhale, this is it. He was like, I made it.
Yep.
He went out and just got steamrolled. Like, you have to, no, this is the next step. You're not done yet,
Yeah.
Jeff
I don't
said
think
it
there's.
best. You got to stay hungry, as you like to put it.
You got to stay hungry. In this sport. I think what also has helped me out through my career is like, I know there's people that eat, sleep, breathe MMA, and I'm not one of those people.
Right.
Like, it's like legit probably number 3 on my list of things.
Yeah.
That like, to me, it's just a job. Like, you clock in, you clock out.
But we have to ask what 1 and 2 is now.
It's definitely my family.
No, I know.
My daughter. It would go my family, including my daughter, and then my friends, and then UFC. Because my real friends.
And now Black Mirror,
Yeah.
number 4.
It's gonna be number 4.
Yeah.
I say my friends because like I consider most of them like closer than family.
That's me too.
And they don't care if I go out there and get beat up in 15 seconds. They're still gonna support me.
Yep.
So
For sure.
we're still gonna be friends. The people that aren't, I don't really give 2 shits about.
Right. My friends are the family that I chose. That's what I like to say.
Exactly.
I got a lot of good friends, and it's nice. It's just nice to have people you can have like this conversation is gold for me. It's priceless.
That's why I like doing this shit.
We do it every other week. It's almost like therapy, man. Like I know people that go and talk. It's like kind of talking to another man about like how you feel about something. You know, it's great. And you
I
don't
don't-
have to pay for it.
I don't know if you've ever done it, but every now and then I'll go back and I'll watch like episode 3 or episode 7 or some shit. And I'll just be like, what were we talking about in this one? It's just like a little trip down memory. Like, it's cool. Like, what if one day, God forbid, something to happen to one of us? Like, we have like hours and hours of like good conversation we could always go back to.
Yeah, not only that, not only just the audio, but the video.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love to have a 3-hour conversation with my dad and his buddies. Talking.
Right.
Just to watch it, you know, like
Think about what.
mannerisms and everything, where their
10
minds were at the time.
Exactly. Like 10, 15 years down the road, I got all this stuff. Who knows what we could do with it? You know what I mean? Like, who knows what could be done with all this shit?
Well, I know, like Rachel asked at the last 2 parties I've had, like,
Why
does
is he
Mark
recording?
film everything? And she's like, and then she like literally answered her own question. She's like, but it's gonna be nice when, you know, looking at it a couple years.
Yeah, well, I always
Yeah.
hope that she sees what I actually do with it and she's like, oh, that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
Even
Well,
if
I
she
showed her
doesn't
the
like
clip.
it.
Yeah, I showed her the clip. I told her that you removed the part where I was asking her to do a sex tape.
Dude, that was so good, though.
Yeah,
That
edited
was
it out.
so good. Yeah.
I
I didn't want
had-
to, but he asked me to.
Yeah. I
Now you
left
gotta
a little
edit
bit
this
in.
out.
I left a little, like the very beginning and the very
Yeah.
end out. But the best part I had to take
I
out.
was like, I was telling her, and she's like, no, and I was like, but Mark will edit it. It'll look really good. She's like, nobody's gonna watch us have sex.
It'll be very tasteful.
It was so funny
But
how
just
it all
stuff
went
like
down.
that is just like funny to me.
Yeah, it'll
Looking
be
back.
cool when you're 70 and look back on it. So when you go back and watch the old tapes, do you see your improvement?
Oh yeah. Oh, like the first episode of JAMUP we ever did. You can't even hear me. All you hear is him and my brother, and like you can, if you turn it all the way up and really listen, you can hear me. So like, even when I made the first best of JAMUP episode, all I did was the intro from episode 1. That's how ashamed I was of the audio quality in that one. But
Is it because you weren't talking loud enough, or you weren't close enough to the mic?
just
or?
something I overlooked,
mix.
probably. Like,
Okay.
I think I had a shittier soundboard back then, too. And just shoddy. Like, every now and then a chord goes out and you don't notice. And until the very end and shit.
Right.
So, like, that's why I'm constantly, like, anity watching right now is constantly seeing me look over here, just double check.
How much trouble would this be to take this on the road, like to bring your setup?
We've done it.
I've done it, but it requires me to take my PC with me. To
Okay.
take at least the tower and the monitor and any kind of...
What, do you have anything in mind?
Well, I was just thinking you guys could come to my place sometime, just sit out on my deck, but we could always do it. Shit, I could do it on my iPhone. I could share it to your podcast or
Yeah,
something.
I don't think about that, yeah.
What about a laptop? Would that...
A laptop would probably do it. Like, I think we wouldn't be able to... well, I don't know. It would depend on the laptop, really.
Oh.
Like, the capabilities.
Not mine. Mine's like...
But, like, when it comes down to
$150
the
laptop.
basic setup, if we're not going to stream it live or something, like, really all I need is something to record the audio. The video is all right there, and then I can just sync it up.
Well, I
Is this
saw...
streaming live now?
No.
Okay.
No. I can't. I could if I wanted to. I'm just...
That's probably better not to, just in case, you know. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Not for sure.
I know, I have to
Knows what you're
always...
going to say about the commission.
I fucking don't care. I'll tell them right to their faces. They, yeah, sometimes, like, at my party, we all got real drunk, and I was like, Mark, shut off the camera.
Yeah.
Like, they're saying shit that could get me in trouble.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there was a brief moment where the R word was getting brought up a little too much.
Yeah.
But I mean,
It was, like,
in
on purpose.
context,
Yeah.
it was funny because they were saying it like Mark Wahlberg or somebody from Boston. So like, like the way and the way it was being said and who was being said to it made sense. But anybody that would have just popped on for a second would have been like, "What the fuck?"
But we get too offended nowadays.
Right.
For sure.
Like,
Those-
you hear
those
the word
words-
fag, and you're like, and I think it's funny because, like, I would call one of my friends a fag, and I would never, ever call somebody that was a homosexual.
Exactly.
I never.
Yeah.
But I call my friend that as like calling him like a dick or something. You know what I mean? It's not, it just comes out, and like now you can't
No.
do that.
Nope.
I know. There are some words I understand, but at the same time, if we get offended, we give that word power.
Mm-hmm.
We're the ones giving that word power.
For sure.
If you just, especially if you don't even pay attention to these words, they'll eventually stop saying them, you know?
Yep.
Some people just like to get a rise, so they're going to say that word.
Hmm.
But I went to school with a gay girl, and she called herself queer, and I'm like, is that okay? Like,
No.
because
You think it would be bad, but
Yeah,
like that's
but-
what they want to be called.
Yeah.
No, I
like
think
she-
queer's accepted,
Yeah.
oddly enough.
like it's
which-
so hard to keep up on what's okay, what's not. Like,
Which is weird because queer, like,
that was a
originally it
derogatory
was
term.
kind of like a negative thing. It said it meant it was odd or strange.
Yeah.
Well, then they made it a TV show. right?
Yeah,
Queer Eye
for the straight guy.
Yeah. Which I've never watched, but I mean, they say it in the title. So like, that's like them trying to take the power out of the word almost. Like,
the
we're
word
cool with it.
But gay is happy, queer is strange. Like, so they just change, just take words and twist them up.
I mean, the one word that white people can't say is the N word, and I'm okay with that.
Right, for sure.
And that's something that should be off limits, no matter what. But just calling somebody queer, like people will turn that into something that it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how we were just talking about all kinds of words we couldn't say and said like half of them.
Yeah, you can't say this.
That's the only way you can't say
Don't say that.
But you can't say it like, I don't know, it's weird. You can't say it in like a sentence, I guess.
Yeah.
You can't be a derogatory. You can't use it as an assault weapon. You know?
Do you think people get too offended with everything now? Like everything, and not something individually, but
the shit we see on social media is extreme right, extreme left. I think most of us are in the middle. Most of us agree. Even if we have political differences. Like I live in Ashland. I work in Ashland. It's very Trump, very right wing, and I'm not even going to say that I'm a liberal. I'm a liberal in my town. I'm a pro
compared to everybody else.
I'm a pro-gun guy, pro-choice. I would never have an abortion, but I could see where it would be needed, and I could, if you make it illegal, they're going to do it in the alley.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So the shit that we read in the news and the social media are just the loudest voices. That's not the majority.
I think a good portion of it too is put out there purposely to get people
rile them up. Yeah.
Button heads and
keep them
some
at each
of
other's
it.
throats.
Like, and a lot of these issues that people are just up in arms about, or you at least hear about people being up in arms about in the media and stuff, only like 15-20% of the population actually care about any of that stuff. Like, they're just making it seem so much bigger than it actually. Like, only people in Hollywood actually give a shit about this certain thing, or like people in this little region or something, and like it doesn't actually affect or reach most of the people.
But the people that it shouldn't affect, like in my town, these guys will say, "Oh, these liberals are taking over." Like the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. This dude's in Ashland. I don't know where those Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts are at, but they're letting it fuck their day up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does it matter? We're not doing that here in Ashland.
Right.
And that's probably going to be one Girl Scout sect that's going to fade away. It's not.
Yep.
Like, that's why they call it paying attention, because it costs you.
Yeah.
Everything. My mom lives in Mansfield. It's not the greatest town, but it's not a war zone. She watches Fox News all day and thinks that every store's getting robbed. The cops are getting shot at every corner. I'm like, Mom, look out your back door. That garden, that's your reality.
I know they're keeping us in. Like, for my mom, for instance, I told her, like, you have to stop believing everything that the news is telling you.
Yep.
Turn this shit off.
It's not true. It's like, what if the news was here to tell you, to inform you what's really going on? There would never be any commercials.
Right.
Yeah.
Why do you think there's a commercial break every 5 minutes, Mom?
Yep.
Because they're making money, and their job is to keep you
on the hook.
Keep watching every single night.
Somebody owns that station, and they own like most of the stations in all these little regions to make sure that like
data correlates.
Yeah, that their agenda is being followed here. That's why like Fox News will tell you something completely different than NB or CNBC or some shit or whatever, CNN or.
I watched it during the election. Fox was saying that Trump was winning by a landslide. And you flipped one channel, and they were saying it's close, it's neck to neck. Hillary probably has it, though. And it's like, who is telling me the truth right now?
And nobody's regulating them, telling them that you can't say that. Like, there's no, like, commission sitting there looking like, well, you have to tell honest, accurate news. No, like the whoever's there is like, I want you to give this side of the story. I want, like, you're getting their perspective, no matter what. There's nobody saying, there's no neutral party there. Yeah, aside from maybe like reliable sources on the internet or something, which even then you can't trust most of them.
No, in the beginning they might be a good source, and then there's going to be some corruption if they get a sponsor or whatever.
It's always about money with people.
That's why it's not worth following. I used to say, I got to be up on current events. I got to appear knowledgeable. But why? It didn't help me at all. It doesn't help me. It stole my joy is what it did. So I don't have cable or anything.
That's another thing I say about the news too, or the media. It's why watch it? It's all doom and gloom.
Yeah.
Is there anything good? There might be a 5-minute segment, a 2-hour news segment that isn't doom and gloom.
Yeah. Or some.
Why would I want
some
to ruin my day like that?
mind-numbing thing you don't need to know at all.
Right, like a cat
Kim
fashion
Kardashian
show.
did this, or you know what I mean? Something stupid. Who won American Idol?
Yeah.
When you just watched American Idol right before that, you know? Stupid.
That's so true.
I don't know, but sirs, we're coming up on 2 hours.
Great chat with you guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, this is great
dude.
meeting you, man.
Great
Anytime.
meeting you, Jeff. Love
And,
you, brother.
All right, too.
Yeah, I guess that was episode 26 of Jeff and Mark's Untitled Podcast. Is there anything you guys want to say before we go out?
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been my favorite episode for sure.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do this, and now if he's okay with it, we'd love to do it again.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to tell everybody, when we were talking about MMA earlier, I don't have a bad taste in my mouth about the sport. I love every one of you guys. I've made so many good friends. The sport raised me, basically. I was a boy when I started doing that, and you guys helped. I said this in a pre-fight.
Your pre-fight speeches were the best.
But I said that because you guys, the fans, the fighters, you guys held me accountable. That's what forged me into who I am today. That's why the RFO was so good, because you held us accountable. So you're not to blame, but you guys are the reason that I am who I am today, and I appreciated it. Every memory that we have. My wife's here too. We loved it, and we're glad that we did it, and I wouldn't change a thing. I just don't want anybody to think that
Right.
Yeah.
You know somebody will.
I'm not pissy.
Yeah, somebody will take
Yeah.
your words.
There's a few haters out there, but it's all right.
Fuck them.
Yep.
Well, that was well said, and I guess with
I
that,
ain't mad at you.
Jeffrey knows what to do. Until next time.
Hogan must pose. Just flex a little bit. Yeah, that's what that's my